Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Tanya from the product marketing team here at WebEngage, and today we're going to be talking about a little known and a little used tool that a lot of marketers don't, really use. But I'm just going to explain the potential of this secret channel and how you can use it to increase your engagement with your users on your platform. Before I get started, I would urge you to put in your questions into the comments section at any time where you feel you might have questions or you might want me to answer those questions, because as soon as I'm done with the presentation, I'll be answering your questions. So let's get started. I'll first explain why I have referred to something as the confirmation pitfall or the confirmation bias, and then explain what is its opportunity cost and how it might be affecting your business. So confirmation bias is the tendency to process information and looking for information that is consistent with one's belief. So if I say that I like or I prefer XYZ, then I might look for information which will confirm my bias or which is consistent with my bias of liking XYZ. Similarly, if you do a quick search on Google for top marketing channels, now this is a confirmation pitfall for marketers, wherein the top channels, if you sort of market or if you talk to other marketers out there, you will understand that the top performing ones are email, SMS, Facebook, and Google. So what happens is that all of most of the marketers then tend to fall into this confirmation pit and tend to sort of put in more of our time, more of our efforts, more of our money into these channels and getting more engagement out of these channels. So this is creating two problems for you. One is the user fatigue. Your users are getting bombarded with multiple brands focusing on these top channels, so which is creating a lot of user fatigue, and users are now reluctant to sort of engage with your content over these channels. The second is uh, the decreasing engagement that you're facing because of user fatigue. So what's happening is you're spending this much, you're putting in this much effort, but the ROI that you're getting is very, very less. Which is why a lot of the marketers out there are falling into this confirmation pit and are losing out on engagement that they could have otherwise realized from other sources. Now, just a glimpse into what this other source is. We're talking about web push notifications, right? So, take for example your Safari, Firefox, Chrome. Now, these browsers make up to 73% of your market share, and all your emails, SMS, all your marketing campaigns lead to your website, which implies that web push notification has the potential to reach out to 7 out of 10 users. And isn't that a great impression to begin with? For emails, you might have to get users opted into a list first to send them out emails. Similarly for SMS, similarly for Facebook and Google, you might need to create an audience. But why not leverage the audience that's already present on your website? Why not leverage that audience to send notifications? So the simple thing that I'm trying to convey here is that you don't need to put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify in terms of the channels that you're using, which is where web push comes in as a very effective channel, which has the potential to work on both mobile and desktop. And you can notify your users even when they're not active on your website. So web push notifications work in a similar way to your mobile push notifications. The only difference is that you do not need an app for you to be able to send a notification to the user, and that user does not even have to be active at that point in time on your website for you to be able to send a web push notification. Now, coming to the anatomy of a web push notification on your WebEngage dashboard. So the image that you can see right now represents how your web push notification would look like when the users receive it. We'll also get into the live demo in just a bit and explain how we were able to create this web push notification, and how do you go about getting started with configuring web push notifications on your dashboard, and then going about creating campaigns. But before we even start with web push notification, there are two prerequisites that you need to make sure that you're implementing. One is you need to enable web push notification, and second is you need to set your opt-in. Now, there are two types of opt-ins that you can set in. One is a one-step opt-in, which can be done directly through a browser prompt. A second is a two-step process in which an on-site notification as well as a browser prompt is required. Coming quickly to behind the scenes before jumping into the live demo, what you need to do to set up your web push notifications is you need to configure your opt-in first. You need to select your audience, you need to select the campaign type, and then you need to set up your campaign, and then take your campaign live and analyze your performance. I'll quickly go over to the live demo now to show you what all we went through. So the first bit is setting up your web push notifications. How you need to go about it is under data platform, click on integrations. And if you scroll down, you can see web push setup. Once you click on configure, you need to click on this toggle to on to be able to set your web push notifications. And you also have um, a bunch of things that you need to check here. One is the configuration, like we talked about. You can select from either a one step or a two step opt-in type. Now this is a good opportunity for you to put in your brand icons, your badges, and here is where you can select your opt-in prompt. So you can customize as to what the opt-in type will be like, what the message will be displayed, and so on. What you can also do is when and where to show. So if you want your opt-in prompt to show on specific pages, or for any event that has occurred, let's say product viewed or something on the lines of that, so you can also set that up here. Once you're done with setting up your web push notifications, you can go under channels and to web push. Now, at a glance, what you get is you get to see a list of your campaigns and a quick view of their performances. I'll also quickly go into overview to explain how the performance side of things work. But before that, I'm gonna start with the basics of how you need to get started with web push and how you can build a campaign or create your campaign. If you click on plus icon here, you can select a campaign type from one time, triggered, recurring, or transactional. One time is where you're only targeting the notification to go out at once, or at a specific time. Triggered is where you want the web push notification to be triggered based on a custom event. Recurring is you want to keep sending it at regular intervals, and transactional, as the name suggests, is once a transaction event has been performed. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead with one time and put in my campaign name. What's also important, and I would highly recommend you do, is you select your campaign tags, because that will help you at the end when you're analyzing and viewing performance. Now you can either send it to users in a single segment or in multiple segments. So this is where you have your entire ground to select or zero in the kind of audience that you want, and the kind of audience you also want to exclude from this segment. So if you can see, you have two options here. You can send to users in any of these segments. You can select multiple segments here, or you can send it to users in all of these segments. So the and or condition bit is also solved for. If you want to exclude users from these segments, you can simply click add criteria, and again similarly follow the same pattern to keep on adding segments. For now, I'm just going to go ahead with send to users in a single segment. And select it to all users. I'll click save and continue. Now, this is where you decide when do you want your web push campaign to go out, what what your frequency DND should look like. So you have an option to select from now or later as a send time. What you can also do with later is you can select at a specific, you can send it at a specific time, and you can also choose to send it in the user's time zone, which is something that I would recommend if you are sending it out to a segment which has users from multiple uh, time zones. For now, I'm just gonna keep it to now. You can also set up your frequency capping, DND, queuing, and throttling. Now, frequency capping is wherein you understand what frequency cap do you want to keep. Let's say you want to say not more than 2 or 3 web notifications a day, so you can set that limit. You can also set DND hours, wherein you don't want to be disturbing your users with push notifications of any kind. Similarly, you can also set up queuing and throttling for your campaign. Now, going ahead is your message. Now, you can select from a text or a banner layout. I'm just gonna quickly go in with a banner layout here. Now, you can see the banner that we had uploaded in the configuration appears here. But what I'm gonna do here is quickly enter my title as, hey, I'm just as you build your mobile push notifications, you can click on this icon here and include as many personalization elements as you can. I'm just gonna say something like register for our webinar and put in any on click action that you might have. I'm just putting anything that would work for you. Just putting it as a placeholder for now. You can upload an image or you can use your personalization engine here. I'm just quickly going to upload an image here. What you can also do is you can add buttons here. Now, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and do so, because what you can do with CTAs is you can drive users to a certain specific action that you want to take, which otherwise your image or your text might not be able to communicate. So CTA is a great way to ensure that the users are taking the action that that you intended them to by sending this web push notification. So I would say here as register now, and I'd put any on click action. Once you've done, you also have some advanced options to select from, but here is a quick preview of how your web push notification looks like. You can also try and see under various different, so for Chrome Windows it will look something like this, for Chrome Android something like this. So you can also try and test as to how your web push notification appears. You can also set up conversion tracking if you want. And what you can also do at this point is add variations to your message. So, for example, if you want to do an A/B test of 2 different types of images, you can go ahead and do that. Or it can be either text or whatever is it that you're looking at. So you can go ahead and set conversion tracking at this point if you want. You can select any conversion event that you want the tracking to reflect, but I'm just going to keep it off for now. Over here, you can test your campaign, see how it appears. I would highly recommend that you do this for a variety of devices to look at how your web push notification appears. And once you're done, once you're satisfied with the overall result, you can launch your campaign. So this is in short of how you start from getting your opt-ins or setting up your web push notifications from data platform under integrations, and you use web push under channels to sort of build your campaigns. Now coming back, I'll just quickly run through the overview bit to help you understand how your performance metrics would look like. So simply you would have some cards here that will show you the reachability, subscribes, unsubscribes, engaged user, and revenue based on your conversion tracking. Then, based on your tags, you also can see relevant data or information. You can also, over here, select from channels, types, or tags, and then see the delivered clicks, conversions, and revenue numbers. What you can also do here is understand the engagement trend of delivery failures, the number of unsubscribes for from your web push campaigns, and you can also look at engagement trends from day wise. Since this is a demo account, we have a limited set of data available here. But this was a quick overview of how you can navigate web push on your web engage dashboard. Now, coming back to the presentation, we have some best practices that you should be following when you're setting up or when you're sending out web push notification campaigns to your users. We'll go through each of these in detail, starting with user opt-ins. So we spoke about getting user opt-ins. Now, why you need to get user opt-ins is because it's mandatory for you to get permissions even before you start sending notification to your users. As we discussed with WebEngage, you have two options that you can select from. One is a one-step opt-in and a second is a two-step opt-in. Now, your one-step opt-in will work for your HTTPS websites, whereas your two-step opt-in would work for your HTTP websites. What happens with your two-step notification is that the user needs to go through two steps of verification to be able to opt in for receiving web push notifications, whereas for your one step opt in, it's just a simple one confirmation that the user needs to provide. So the first best practice is that you need to get your user opt-in. What you can also do at the two-step user opt-in is you can select where do you want to send that on-site notification to collect the user opt-in. Now there are four things that I would recommend you do if you're going for a two-step opt-in. One is you can go on to specific pages and then say that, okay, if my user is on a checkout page, I want to send him a notification that says that, hey, I hope you enjoyed your purchase, or hey, I hope you had a great experience on the website. Would you like to receive more notifications from us in the future? So this is something that your on-site notification would say, which would prompt the user to click on the allow button and opt in for your web push notification. The second is you can select time delay. For example, if I'm setting, if a user is coming onto my website and is spending, let's say, 1 minute browsing through, then you're gonna pop up this notification which will ask the user to opt in for web push notifications. The third is on scroll. So let's say if the user has done some amount of scrolling on your website, again you can quantify this, which is where you would want to go ahead and ask for a web push notification opt-in. And the fourth is on event. Now, for example, you can have that event to be anything that you've set in terms of your custom events on your dashboard. But for a generic example, it could be, for example, if a user has clicked on a certain category or has signed up to your newsletter, then you might want to send this on-site notification to users collecting an opt-in for your web push notification. So these are the four things that I would recommend that you do if you're going for the two-step opt-in. The second best practice that you need to follow is that you need to zero in on your audience. It's very important that you segment and you categorize your users based on a certain behavior or user attributes, and then sort of identify what kind of message strategy you want to follow for this sort of an audience. On your web engage dashboard, you can segment your audience based on user attributes, custom events, or technology, which could include certain specific devices or whichever browser that you also want to sort of target users on. The third is you need to set you need to be mindful of when users are receiving notifications. So I'd suggest, and we went over this, that you do two things. You set up DND so that you're not disturbing users at incorrect times, or times wherein it's not optimum to send push notifications. And the second is you use the user's time zone option to make sure that the users are receiving your notification as per their time zone, and it also aligns with your message. So for example, if I'm incorporating an essence of a good morning or a good evening into my messages, you do not want them to go at a different timing than what you've implied in your messages. So for that, users time zone definitely comes in handy. The fourth best practice that you need to follow is that you need to include rich media in your message strategy. Now, why I'm saying this is because what this does is it helps you use less content. It helps you convey your message very, very quickly in a single glance. And what it also helps you is it drives more conversions, it drives more engagement to your web push notification, and essentially gets your users to what you intended out for, which is getting users back to your platform, or getting users to your platform to perform a specific action or an event. Another best practice that you need to follow, and I know I keep repeating this in multiple webinars, is that you need to personalize. Now, it's highly important that you're personalizing messages for each users, even when you've segmented your audience. What happens when you've segmented your audience is you've drilled down on the basis of, let's say, an event a user did, for example, add to cart. But the product that was added to cart could be different for you, could be different for me. Wherein, this is where personalization comes in, to identify that product that was added by you in your cart and the product that was added by me in my cart, and send a message that is personalized to to the users in terms of what action they performed. And going back to personalization, we saw it was very, very easy. You can click on the human icon when you're setting up your messages to include personalization in your campaigns. Another best practice is that you need to include CTAs in your web push notification. Now, why CTAs are important is because when your message or your rich media fails to sort of convey what the end action you want your users to take, which is where CTAs play an important role. What CTAs do is that it gives your users a sense of the end action that you're asking them to do. For example, it could be buy now, or if you're running a Black Friday sale, then you want the users directly to go to your platform. Or if you're sending out very specific messages, such as offers on limited products, or a selected category of products, then you might want to sort of get users through CTAs onto those platforms. What you can also do in CTAs at this point is uh, you can use deep linking. If, let's say, you're talking about a specific category of products and the notification belongs to, let's say, a handbag category, or a specific e-commerce category, then you would want the users to directly go into that specific category and not your overall your main homepage in general. What also you can do with CTAs is that you can have an option, as you can see on your screens right now, is a remind me later, or I'll do it later. What this does is it still helps you understand that the user was interested, the user did interact with your push notification, but the user wants some time to think, or the user would want to be reminded of this later. So this is where you can use CTAs to your benefit to understand what the users are doing on your web push notifications, or how they're engaging, and which is where you can strategize and take in your next step. Another best practice is that you can include recommendation in your message. Why this is helpful is that, again, because recommendations are personal to each users and they would change from a user to user, it's important to send recommendation of, let's say, if a user purchased bags, then you would want to recommend uh, similar items or complementary products along with the item that was purchased. So recommendation is a powerful tool that you can use on your web push notification as well, to sort of communicate what is it that you would want the user to do next, or what is it that you would want to recommend the user based on what they've done. Now, what you can also do is another best practice for you is to leverage cross-channel support. You can use your web push notifications in your journey or your relays. And what you can also do here is you can use our new feature, which is a split block, to sort of test and experiment with how your web push campaigns are performing versus your other channels. So what you can do here is when you're setting up your journey campaign or your relays, you can add a split block, and then you can, let's say, divide your users into two separate audiences. Part A of the audience gets a web push notification, whereas part B of the audience gets, let's say, an SMS. So what this will also help you do is this will help you understand which channel is performing better, and this will also help you realize if web push is working for you, and if yes, then how much is the conversion or the CTR higher or lower in comparison to the other channels. So it's a good way to sort of experiment with what's working, what's not working, and then sort of strategize ahead in terms of what your users should engage with, or the best way possible for you to engage with your users. Now, we've also covered some use cases for all industries that you can get started with for web push campaigns. We'll start with e-commerce first. The first is, what you can do for e-commerce is behavior based offers. Like we said, if a user has expressed interest in a certain category of item, for example handbags, then you can use that information, you can segment your audience basis this information, and then you can send a customized push notification to your users, asking them to sort of come back to your platform and check out more products within the same category that you have to offer. The second industry is BFSI and fintech. What you can do is simply set up a cart abandonment. If a user, let's say, is viewing a policy on your platform, the user adds that policy to his or her cart, but then just abandons your cart. What you can do at this point is send a nudge within, let's say, 30 minutes or so, asking the user to come back, asking the user to, reminding the user that there was something that they left in the cart, and asking the user to go ahead with their purchase. The third industry is edtech. Now, the use case that you can implement here is, upon successful course completion, you can recommend users similar courses within that category. If, for example, if I completed a course in digital marketing, then you can sort of use recommendation to suggest me a similar course within digital marketing, or use recommendation to select from some other courses that I might have viewed on the platform. For travel and hospitality, what you can easily do is you can send flight status updates, or hotel booking or hotel check-in updates. What you can do is you can identify users who've made a successful transaction on your website, and you can target those users with specific details as to what flight they had booked for this case. How you can do that is you can again use in the personalization engine here to zero in on what flight was used or what were the details of the flight. For media and entertainment, again, what you could do is, on previous user engagement, you can then send web push notifications that are highly customized. What I've done here is I've shown a user who has watched a movie recently, and I'm using that recent movie to then go ahead and suggest users other similar movies or other movies that the user would want to explore on the platform. What you can also do here is you can you can give a top pick of sorts from your end, to say that if you liked movie A, then our we would also recommend, or our editors would recommend, that you watch movies B, C, and D. So this is where, how I would go about creating a sample use case for media and entertainment. Great. Now that we are reaching towards the end, I thought it was a good way for us to just understand the myths that we were able to solve for in this webinar. There are five myths that we addressed today. One is web push is difficult to implement, which we saw how easily you can set up web push campaigns on your web engage dashboard. And not just setting up campaigns, you can personalize your campaigns, you can segment your audience in whichever way you want, and you can also view performance stats. You can include them in your journey or your relays. Get the best out of your web push notifications. Second is, users would not want to receive web push notification. While we already cleared that when a user is opting in for your web push notification is where the user is saying yes to receiving web push notification. And it's not a bad idea to sort of understand or diversify in terms of your channels as to wherein you can engage with your users. The third is, you need to have a mobile app to be able to send web push notifications, which is not true. You can not have an app but still target users on their mobile devices through web notifications. Fifth is, the users need to be on your website at the time of you sending or them receiving your notification, which is not true. Even when the users are not currently active on your website, web push notification will be delivered and work in a similar way as your mobile push notification works. The fifth and the last myth is, web push notifications don't yield better engagement. From what I've observed, and from the little research that I've done on this topic, what I've come across is that web push notification uh, tends to perform better. Why this would be is because users are coming into you and are opting in to receive notifications to begin with. That shows intent that the user is interested to receive notifications. And once you have intent wherein this is where you can drive better engagement, because the user has explicitly given you permission to contact him or her, which is why from your traditional channels such as emails, SMS, web push does tend to perform better in terms of engagement. Great. So now we're at the end of the webinar. At this point, if you have any questions or any comments, just put them in the comments box and I'll answer them now. Okay, so if there are any questions at any point, just make sure that you reach out to us or to your CSMs, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or your queries. Thank you.